joining us. We are getting more election results on a number of races that we're following across the state.
We have live team coverage of all the biggest races, starting with the governor's election. And here's where the voting stands about an hour after the polls have closed. We can take a look. Those results starting to come in, and Republican Kevin Stitt is looking very strong. With 16% of the precincts reporting, he's at 54% to Democrat Drew Edmondson's 43%, the Libertarian, Chris Powell at 3%.
The lieutenant governor's seat is also up for grabs, and here's what we're seeing from those early results. If we can take a look. Maybe not. We'll get to those results coming up in just a little bit. There we go. Matt Pinnell, the former Republican Party chairman for the state of Oklahoma, longtime political analyst, 61% of the vote against Anastasia Pittman's 36%. That's with 16% of the precincts reporting.
News on 6's Ashley Isbicki is live with Republican Matt Pinnell's campaign in Oklahoma City. Ashley, they have to like what they've been seeing so far.
Yeah, we've been hearing some cheers throughout the night for those results as they're coming in. A lot of support here, of course, for all of the Republican candidates. This is a Republican watch party here in Oklahoma City. Very packed, a lot of excitement, a lot of energy tonight. We are told we won't hear from those candidates for quite some time, kind of waiting for the results to get a little bit more clear. And of course, that could take a while to come in. But we know that Lieutenant Governor candidate Matt Pinnell is 38 years old, a father of four, and really running on a very strong platform that is similar to Kevin Stitt's platform, a lot of uniformity there. So they're kind of teaming up with that same message of funding core services and turning the state around. We'll keep you posted here from the watch party in Oklahoma City. Live on the scene, on the story in Oklahoma City, Ashley Isbicki, News on 6.
News on 6's Amy Kaufman continues our team coverage from Oklahoma City with Pinnell's opponent, Anastasia Pittman, at her watch party. Amy?
Well, Craig, it's pretty quiet on this side for the Democratic Watch Party. For some of the Democratic candidates over here, a lot more people are on the other side for Drew Edmondson's party. But let me step out of the way so you can see some of Anastasia Pittman's supporters are here in the room. Matt Pinnell, like you said, has pulled ahead pretty early, so the room has quieted down. But her supporters say, they aren't giving up hope yet. Senator Pittman says her ability to work with both parties would make her the ideal candidate for lieutenant governor. But again, we're watching these results very closely, so we'll continue to bring you live updates here tonight. Live on the scene, on the story from Oklahoma City, Amy Kaufman, News on 6.
Thank you, Amy. Joy Hoffmeister is trying to retain her spot as state superintendent tonight against challenger John Cox.
And so far, so good. 16% of the precincts in. Joy Hoffmeister with 58% of the vote. John Cox with 35%. Larry Huff with 7%.
And we want to remind you, we will continue to have results throughout the evening this evening. At the bottom of your screen, we'll also have it on newson6.com, our News on 6 app, and we are doing live election coverage on our Facebook page as well.
And we're going to cover, of course, all those state questions. Some of those races are looking tight. We'll keep you posted. Keep it here.
Polls being closed. We're seeing many more precincts reporting, so we're kind of getting a clear picture of how tonight could end up. But of course, there's still a long way to go. The precincts reporting still in the teens right now for most races. And so this is the digital desk coverage, News on 6's digital desk coverage here of Election Night 2018. We have reporters all across the state at watch parties in Oklahoma City, in Tulsa. So let's turn now to News on 6's Lori Fulbright. And before we get to Lori, we want to show you where we're going, because the governor's race, we expected it to be pretty tight. And now with 25% of precincts reporting, Kevin Stitt opening up a 55% to 42% lead. Libertarian Chris Powell in third place, distant with 3%. But we don't know which exact precincts have reported, if those are the rural ones, if those are the metro ones yet. So it'll be interesting to still watch this. Again, it is still very early. And News on 6's Lori Fulbright, as I was mentioning, is there in Oklahoma City at Kevin Stitt's watch party. And so, Lori, how's it going now?
It's starting to be rocking a little bit here, Dave. They are playing some music. There is a huge crowd here now, and of course they're not just here for one race. They're here for all the Republican candidates, but of course the most interest tonight is in the governor's race. The candidate is not here. Kevin Stitt and his family are not here yet. We've been told they're not going to show up until the race has been called, either by the campaign or with a concession phone call or whatever that means, and then he'll be here with his family. They said he has a large number of people with him, and it's just too crowded for them to all get here. But we talked talked to him earlier when he was voting at Tulsa Tech today, and we asked him about those undecideds because earlier this morning there was just about a 3% lead, and that is within the margin of error. And, you know, for the undecideds, he's like, look, we really feel like we're going to turn a lot of those undecided voters our way. He said that he thinks that most people are just sick of the way that things are right now. They are looking for a change. Of course, he says he offers that change. He says that he's an outsider. He's not one of the what he calls elite politicians, that he's never run for office before, that it's going to take someone with an outsider view to come in and change things. So, of course, we will have to wait and see tonight if that is really the case. But he also said they feel really good about their campaign. When we were like, just, you know, how are you feeling today? And he said they felt really good. They've visited all 77 counties. He said he's met people in every single county and really talked to people. And he's enjoyed the process, which I'm not sure too many people would say, because campaign, of course, is hard, thankless work. But he says he's really enjoyed the process itself of campaigning, Dave.
Yeah, and Lori, I was wondering if you could kind of give us an estimate. I mean, how many people are there? We can kind of just see right behind you. It sounds really loud, though.
It's loud, and they're playing some rockin' music, let me tell you. I don't know. There are hundreds and hundreds of people here. There's probably 3 dozen media people here. So where I'm sitting, next to me, I can see 5 reporters and cameras that way, and I can see probably another dozen cameras and reporters that way. There are people behind me. There are people all the way around the top as well. So many hundreds of people are here. And of course, I told you earlier that dozens of them are employees of Kevin Stitt because he rented them a bus, and anybody who wanted to come over to support them, he provided the bus for them to come over and do that. So they had just gotten here a little while ago when I was talking to many of them who decided to come over here and support him tonight as well. So some of them are his employees. And of course, every time the numbers go up on the screen behind me and they see a Republican winning, we hear a big cheer here. But right now, it's basically, someone described it as a big cocktail party as they wait for the races to be announced, and then we start hearing from some of the candidates themselves.
All right, Lori, thank you so much. At Kevin Stitt's watch party there in Oklahoma City, and really the Oklahoma GOP watch party, a lot of candidates involved there in Oklahoma City. Let's turn now to News on 6's Ashley Isbicki. Well, Ashley is actually at Matt Pinnell's watch party, which again is in the same room. All the major Oklahoma GOP candidates are there. Let's look at the race, though, for Matt Pinnell, because Matt Pinnell, the Republican, he's on top big time right now with almost 30% of precincts reporting. So he's up 62% to Anastasia Pittman, State Senator Anastasia Pittman at 34% there, and then independent Ivan Holmes pulling down 3%. We are seeing both the Oklahoma GOP and the Oklahoma Democrats having their own watch parties, and we've been kind of hearing our reporters describe they're in different rooms. So the big room in the Democrat watch party right now, Anastasia Pittman has her own area, but it looks like people are kind of gravitating more toward the Drew Edmondson area there, as that race is still early, 55% to 42% at last check, with Kevin Stitt on top there. Again, not quite 30% of the precincts reporting. Let's move now to the state superintendent of public schools. So this is a race where you have an incumbent, Republican Joy Hoffmeister. She's pulling down almost 200,000 votes right now, and that's at 28% of precincts reporting. So she has a 59% lead to Dr. John Cox at 34%, superintendent of PEG schools, and then independent Larry Huff is at 7%, and that is the largest percentage that we've seen from an independent or third-party candidate so far this evening. So let's return now to Matt Pinnell's watch party with News on 6's Ashley Isbicki. Ashley?
Yeah, hey Dave. Yeah, we've had some technical difficulties because this place is so packed. You heard from Lori. Top to bottom, literally dozens or hundreds of people here. A lot of excitement, a lot of energy, not just for Kevin Stitt, but for other Republican candidates, including Matt Pinnell. I want to talk to you a little bit about kind of his campaign message. It's similar to Stitt. He is a businessman. He started his own business. He's running his own business. And he doesn't have legislative experience just like Stitt as well. Now, the difference is that he some of that political experience. As Craig mentioned earlier, he was the chair of the Oklahoma Republican Party. He then went on to work with the National Republican Party, kind of touting his experience helping get President Trump elected, helping get other congressmen elected. So he does have a lot of experience when it comes to politics, and he's hoping that'll certainly help him with the voters here and his own party tonight, Dave.
Yeah, Ashley, and thank you so much. Again, you could see just how many people were there, how many people using cell phones. So that's why some of our technology, and it's just these watch parties. There are so many people there, and all of them are just active at one time. So you could see Matt Pinnell and Kevin Stitt again running on a similar message as Ashley was talking about, but Matt Pinnell obviously much more experienced in politics. Kevin Stitt was very open about being, again, an outsider and the first time running for office. So let's return now to what we were talking about, the U.S. House districts. These 1, 2, and 3 are all in our viewing area. So if you're watching us here on News on 6 on the Facebook Live, thank you so much. These are your districts. So District 1, this is going to cover Tulsa, Wagner, Washington County, and parts of a couple other counties as well. This is Jim Bridenstine's old seat. And now the 3% of precincts reporting, what it's showing, 3% of precincts reporting there, and Kevin Hern has a 68% to 32% lead on Democrat Tim Gilpin. Let's move now to Amy Kaufman. News on 6's Amy Kaufman is also at a watch party. She's going to be live for us at Anastasia Pittman's watch party, the Democratic candidate for Lieutenant Governor. Yeah.
Yep, we're live at the Democratic Watch Party, but we are checking in with Mark Miles, who is the Democratic candidate for Attorney General. So first off, just tell me a little bit about your background for people who don't know.
Okay, well, my background is a little different, I think, for somebody of my age who is an attorney, in that I'm an Army brat, for one. I'm from Lawton, essentially. We parachuted in when my father was stationed there a number of years ago, and we stayed. I went to Oklahoma State, got a degree in economics, and then worked for IBM for 21 years. And then I went to law school. And the impetus for going to law school was actually the Oklahoma City bombing. I got to work with the Red Cross for 2 solid months, and that kind of rekindled my desire to go to law school. I went to law school at the University of Oklahoma, and I've been practicing as either a prosecutor or a defense attorney for the last 10 years.
So why do you think that you would make a good candidate for Attorney General?
Well, the goal or the role of the Attorney General essentially is to be the people's attorney, to represent the people of the state of Oklahoma. So you do other things like defend the state of Oklahoma when they're involved in lawsuits, but you're also responsible for filing lawsuits or charging people when they do things that basically offend the sensibilities of the people of the state of Oklahoma. And I've done those things. I've been a defense attorney and I've been a prosecutor. I know what crime looks like, and it's important to have that background.
And recently you asked for an investigation to be open in Rogers County, so tell me a little bit about that investigation.
So there's not an investigation as of yet. The AG's office is aware of it, but in Rogers County, some oil and gas companies essentially drilled for years and years and years without permits. The Corporation Commission went back retroactively and created a law back in 2012 that said if an oil and gas company is going to drill but they don't intend to produce oil or natural gas, then they don't need a permit, which throws the entire permitting process and regulatory process of the Corporation Commission kind of up in the air. What happened essentially were oil companies drilled. They were doing a lot of horizontal drilling, learning how to refine that technology, and they ruined some oil wells there for the people who were already producing in their vertical wells. And not only were those people affected, but some landowners were affected because they ruined some freshwater wells. There's a number of houses in that area that probably have some horizontal drilling underneath them, so some sinkholes are starting to pop up. And the commissioners of the land office is one of the parties in that they were a 50% royalty owner, so they're not getting any money. So the state's been damaged, the individual property owners have been damaged, and then the environment's been damaged because all of the drilling waste is still there. It hasn't been removed.
So it's still early in the night, but how are you feeling so far?
Well, we're optimistic at this point. The early votes, which are the absentee ballots and the early voting from last Thursday, Friday, and Saturday are in. We're a little bit behind at this point, but we haven't seen the results of our efforts from crisscrossing the state and going to all 77 counties. So if the people that say they're going to support us the way we hope they do, then it's going to be a lot closer before the end of the night.
Definitely. All right, well, thank you so much for talking with us.
Thank you.
And Dave, we'll send it back to you.
News on 6's Amy Kaufman with Democratic candidate for Attorney General Mark Miles there in Oklahoma City at the Oklahoma Democratic Watch Party. Let's talk about something that just happened, and we just learned this. The AP is calling the race U.S. House District 3 for Frank Lucas. Not a big surprise here. He's held the seat for many, many years, and Frankie Robbins has run against him many times. But Frank Lucas right now holding a 73% to 27% lead. But again, the AP has called that race for Republican Frank Lucas. So it looks like the incumbent, as expected, will hold on to his seat there. We want to turn now to News on 6's Taylor Newcomb, and she is here with Dr. John Cox, who is the Democratic candidate for the state superintendent. So let's get to Taylor and her interview with Dr. Cox. Taylor? And of course, we have some technical difficulties, as you can see right there. So we'll try to get those ironed out for you. But we can show you the numbers. And the numbers look like this. For the statewide superintendent, 39% of precincts reporting. So now those precincts really starting to pick up, and we're getting this clearer picture of what's going on. And Republican incumbent Joy Hoffmeister with a 250,000 votes there, 59% over John Cox, 37%, Larry Huff, 7%. And we do now have Taylor Newcomb back with us. So Taylor, take it away.
All right, Dave, sorry, we were having some microphone issues there, but Dr. Cox, we've been talking throughout the night just about how different this race is from 4 years ago when you also faced Joy Hoffmeister. Can you talk to me a little bit about what those differences are this time around?
Well, I really thought that this time around it'd be, instead of Democrat versus Republican, educator, career experienced person against someone that really hasn't been in the business in teaching. But, you know, I'm not in it for John Cox to win. I'm in it to help our public schools and our children, and really that's the main reason I'm out here fighting for them. So if I can get a message across, if I can and be the voice for our teachers, that's what I want to be. So tonight, regardless of the outcome, I think it's very special because we have supporters all over this state that really see what I'm seeing, and they want that voice out there for them. So I'm proud to be here.
Well, and John, I know you've talked about just over the last few weeks, you've had support from Democrats, Republicans, Independents. It's really been all across the board. You've talked about how humbling that's been for you. Is there anything you'd like to say to the people who have supported you?
Oh, yeah. It is very humbling. And to be just a regular person that's out there that has worked his way up and really to be a principal superintendent and have hands-on with all public schools and being able to take care of children, to have those supporters say, hey, we have respect for you. We love what you do. Your message is great. And even for Republicans that are extremely conservative that pick up on me, I'm proud of that. And so we have a strong base still across the state of Oklahoma. It appears that it may be going by party. And so, but that's okay. If that's what Oklahoma wants and if that's what they want for their children, then that's what we work with. But I'm going to be that voice. And as president of all the administrators across the state and on our K schools and that person who gets to lead, I'm proud to be in that position. So, you know, we've got a lot of great people out there, and they really care about kids, and that's what I do.
Well, I know you're superintendent at PEGS, and that's not going to stop for you. So you're still going to be very involved in the education community.
Absolutely, and I love my kids, my school. They take great care of me. My teachers are my family, and I hope that's what people see, because that's a culture that we've got to develop and bring back, and we have to get rid of this testing that really takes away the love of teaching. And I'll keep saying that over and over, but I love my school. And so if I'm there tomorrow working, they love me and they take me in, and they'll be proud to have me there, and I'll be proud to be there with them. So I don't lose. No matter what, I don't lose. And so maybe this is the time I start taking care of my grandchildren and enjoying that more, but still advocating for our public schools.
All right, John, thank you very much, and good luck the rest of the night. And I'm sure we'll be catching up with you later.
Thank you.
And Dave, just kind of like we've been talking about tonight, he's been talking about how some of the differences between the last time. This really is a repeat election. He faced Joy Hoffmeister 4 years ago, and he's been talking about how he really felt like that was a year that people were voting on party lines, and that this year people were really looking at the qualifications. He's talked about how he is the superintendent at PEGS, and he has been working in Oklahoma education for 32 years. So things are still optimistic around here. He's been optimistic all night long. In fact, his supporters, so many people have come in that they've had to bring in more chairs. So he's just talked about how humbling that has been. And so overall, regardless of what the percentages are right now, people are still trying to be in high spirits.
All right, News on 6's Taylor Newcomb with John Cox, Democratic candidate for State Superintendent of Public Schools. So let's take you through the races and let's take you from the top, what we're seeing, the results as they're coming in. Now, 44% of precincts reporting, and this is a big result for Kevin Stitt, certainly more than he was probably expecting based on the polling numbers, but 55% with Kevin Stitt, 41% of voters voting with Drew Edmondson, and then Chris Powell polling in 3%, but it's 16,000 voters. And you look at the numbers, big numbers, 400,000 voters plus coming to the polls here in this midterm election. So big voter turnout. We've been seeing that consistently across the state. The next race, Lieutenant Governor, Republican Matt Pinnell. This is an open seat, so 63%. There is no incumbent. 63% voting for Matt Pinnell. 34% going for State Senator Anastasia Pittman, and then another 4% there going for independent Ivan Holmes. The next race that we want to show you and update you on, again, 44% of precincts reporting, really starting to get a clearer picture of how this night may turn out here. Attorney General race, Attorney General incumbent Republican Mike Hunter polling in over 300,000 votes, and he has a 65% to 35% lead over Mark Miles, as we just heard from Mark Miles and Amy Kaufman there in Oklahoma City. This was what we just were talking about, and we'll run over it again for you. The State Superintendent of Public Education, Republican incumbent Joy Hoffmeister, sitting at 59% now. John Cox, 34%, and then independent Larry Huff is polling in 7%. Again, 44% of precincts reporting. Moving to the federal level and the congressional districts here in Oklahoma, still only 6% of precincts reporting in this, but Kevin Hern consistently pulling in big numbers here, kind of from the outset. He's been up. So the district house, U.S. House District 1, covers several counties: Tulsa, Washington, Wagner counties. Kevin Hern leading Democrat Tim Gilpin, Attorney Tim Gilpin, 63% to 37%. And of course, Kevin Hern, a McDonald's franchisee and a business owner, that's what he's been running on, has really hitched his wagon to President Trump as well. And speaking of, Markwayne Mullin has done the same thing, very much hitching his wagon to the president, and it's turning out well for him. And House District 2, the incumbent Markwayne Mullin, comfortably up 64%. 31% for Democrat challenger and Tahlequah Mayor Jason Nichols. Then John Foreman, the independent, has 3%, and Richard Castaldo, who says he's a street preacher and a political activist, a libertarian, he is at 2%. And a lot of precincts reporting. That's a majority there. 71% of precincts reporting there in the big House District 2, covers much of eastern Oklahoma. And then this one, we were telling you this at the top of the broadcast here, but Frank Lucas has been projected by the Associated Press. The AP has projected Frank Lucas to win House District number 3, and he's up now 74% to 26%. And that's 65% of precincts reporting. We also have, of course, several state questions on the ballot. There's 5 state questions, and it was quite a lengthy ballot. Mine, for example, was front and back, a big long sheet, a lot of reading. And so you had to do a lot of reading through the state questions. But here they are. State question 793. This would allow optometrists and retail stores, and this would enshrine it in the Oklahoma Constitution. This is not a law change. This is a Oklahoma Constitution change here. So yes, 50%, no 50%. And this has been close from the get-go, from the outset. This has been a close one. We've also seen a lot of money in advertising on both sides going back and forth. You've seen it. You've been watching News on 6 over the last few months. You've seen the yes on 793, no on 793. They both have strong Facebook groups. A lot of back and forth with this one, so that is reflective of the percentages. State question 794. These votes are actually happening across the country. 6 states are voting on Marsy's Law tonight, and here in Oklahoma, it is overwhelmingly passing 78% to 22% now, with the majority of precincts reporting 51% reporting, and that would guarantee to crime victims essentially equal to defendants' rights. Another one, this is the state question that was perhaps the most straightforward. You read it and you knew exactly what you were voting on. It would start with the 2026 election cycle, and it would combine the governor and lieutenant governor of each party into the same ticket. Well, right now it's failing by 8 percentage points. It's failing 46% to 54%. And that's our coverage on the digital desk. We will get you back to the television cut in here for more election results. Thanks for watching.